Welcome back to GridDrop. We're here for MyTeam round 3 in Australia. Obviously last race in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia, that was a really good race. If you haven't checked out that video and you're watching this one, definitely check it out. I felt that it was a really strong race. The car felt good around that track, so potentially high-speed circuits is where this car can show some pace, so we'll have to see. Australia, I'd say, is pretty decently high speed, so we'll see what our pace is like around there. A little bit of a precursor. Australia is not really my best track, so I know the car is kind of a back marker still, but I really want to hope for points, but we'll have to see when we get to qualifying in the race. So here's just a department event. We can upgrade Piastri's pace or his awareness. I'm going to go with pace. He's a little slow in qualifying, and during the races he kind of sticks to the back of the field, and I'm racing a little further ahead of him, so that was a pretty good upgrade. Department upgrades, we can finally afford one. So we have 1.7 million in the bank. We can either choose between build time or quality control. I'm going to go with quality control just because when you have an upgrade ready to be put on the car and it fails, it's really detrimental at these early stages, especially because we don't really have that many upgrades unlocked and we can only do 1 or 2 at a time per department. So when you have one taking up all that space and it fails, it's pretty brutal. So aerodynamic upgrades, we can only put one on the car at a time, so we're full on that. Powertrain, you can see here, we have all of them either being put on the car or they're already on the car. So we're going to do this weight reduction upgrade. It's actually somewhat major, so that'll move up our chassis so I think 6th in the performance index. Yeah, so as I said earlier, can't do anything in aero, can't really do anything in any of the other departments. So yeah, that's upgrades done on the car and departments, so we're simulating ahead to the race. And unfortunately,
we had a major issue on the production line earlier this week, so the entire development package for this weekend has failed. Any redevelopments will need to be ordered from the R&D screen.
So that's exactly why I did that department upgrade for failure reduction. That part was being developed since Bahrain, actually, and now it's not on the car. So yeah, kind of a bummer, but here we go for the race weekend. So I didn't really do too many laps before this weekend in MyTeam. Sometimes I'll go ahead and do some laps kind of in like time trial mode or something like that, just to get the setup right, or just get used to the braking points of the track. So Australia is not really my strong suit, so these are my first laps really on this track in kind of a long time. So yeah, they're not too pretty, going wide at a lot of the apexes, but the car feels okay. I'm still tweaking the setup obviously, but the downforce feels good. It feels like there's enough grip, so not really too much to worry about on that front. As for the race today, I'm going to be doing 100 for the AI level, and qualifying will be about 96. So hopefully we can make sure that those are pretty balanced. 100 is I'd say pretty good. I don't really usually go to 100, but I think since this track is not too demanding, 100 should be decent. And we have kind of a moment on the curbs, and we hit the wall in free practice 1. So that wasn't really great. That's kind of a tough turn right there. When you get onto that curbing on the exit, you just completely lose all. Yeah, you can see hitting the wall right there. When you get on that exit curb, you really lose all traction, and you're just kind of bumping around, and you can't really get the power down or get steady again. It's very hard to gain control after you hit that exit curve. So hopefully we can avoid that in the race. At least we make that mistake in practice. No damage to the car either, so kind of no harm, no foul. So yeah, those are my laps in free practice. Did the practice programs, obviously. So now we're into Q1. I'm not really sure where the car is going to stand in Q1 this time around. Obviously, Jeddah, we had a pretty good qualifying performance. And Bahrain, we had a decent one as well. So I'm shooting for around P15. I think that would be a pretty reasonable target. So yeah, we're going to have to see. So this is, we're P20 after a banker lap. So this is my second lap in Q1. I didn't really show the banker lap. It's not really worth showing. It's just kind of a semi-decent lap. So yeah, my first real lap in Q1. Hopefully we can make it through to Q2. That would definitely be ideal. So yeah, this lap's not fantastic. I'm feeling a little bit shaky. I'm really just trying to avoid a lot of the exit curbs. A lot of them around here, like that one in free practice 1, are a little bit shaky. So just try to avoid those. We can see there's one really nice thing about this track is these camera angles going through these S's on this new layout is beautiful. Just watching the car come around the corner and go wide and then come back into the apex is it's a very nice thing to watch. So still take a lot of curb there. It's kind of a big risk, but I don't really think I needed to take that risk. Obviously, we are almost 6/10 up at this point, so definitely could have found some more time on this lap. I'd say I could get about 2 or 3 tenths if I just got some better exits and better traction. Also, I mean, I'm kind of missing some of the braking points, so yeah, we'll try to fix that for the race. But first lap in Q1 is done, and let's see where it puts us. And we are through to Q2, which is a really good result. So we're going to see where Piastri ended up. I'm assuming he probably got knocked out, yeah, last. So that's why we increased his pace. I really think he needs it. So I'm going to try to do some more pace upgrades as well with Piastri in the like the perk section in the menu. So hopefully we can get some of those done. So same thing. So this is Q2. I already put a banker lap in. Obviously, I'm last place with the banker lap. I usually go out right away, so the track is not really fully rubbered up. And I put in a little bit of extra fuel too, just to make sure I'll be able to beat that time, especially on the straights. So yeah, down time finally in the green. I thought I had a better exit from our banker lap, but yeah. So second lap in Q2. Hopefully, I mean, obviously it's pretty unlikely I'll get through to Q3, just given where this car is. If I did get through to Q3, I would probably be a little bit concerned that the difficulty level was too low in qualifying. But yeah, realistically, we should not be able to get through to Q3. So somewhere around P13, P12, that'd be a really good result for this car. Obviously, we're third to last in the performance index compared to the rest of the field. But yeah, kind of zooming through this lap. It's pretty decent. I feel good. Obviously, they're second up on the banker lap, which is really great. I turned in a little too early there, and I kind of paid the price. I had to back out again and then go back into the turn in order to hit the apex properly. If I kept turning in too early, I would have taken way too much curb and definitely lost some time. So a little bit of a mistake. Obviously not too crazy. It's qualifying. It's Q2. Not really too much to lose here. Even if we stay 16th, it's better than qualifying last like Piastri did. So pretty pleased in general. Not going to get through to Q3, but we can see where this puts us. We're going right up to the line. Have to play a little bit of a waiting game here. And P13. So that's actually a pretty good result. I'm very pleased with that. I think that's kind of the maximum of where we could hope to be for Q2. So we set a 1:19.9, which means we're 1.6 seconds off the pace. Obviously, we really shouldn't be on the pace in a back marker, but yeah, P13, here we go.
You can hear the Australian fans roaring as they line the track here in Albert Park. Welcome to Melbourne, and the roar from the crowd can only mean one thing. It's race day. Here we are then at the Albert Park circuit, 3.28 miles of bumpy city streets, but not a lot in the way of elevation changes. The circuit goes all the way around the lake, taking in 14 corners. Note the DRS zones into turns 1, 3 and 13, and they'll offer our drivers a number of good opportunities to overtake. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Hamilton, Sergio Perez, and Russell, Norris, Ocon, Ricciardo, and Valtteri Bottas, Magnussen, Mick Schumacher, Ali, and Stroll, Gasly, Joe, Sebastian Vettel and Fernando Alonso, Tsunoda, Albon, Latifi and Oscar Piastri. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race.
All right, so strategy-wise, it looks like we're probably going medium to hard again. I know these first episodes of MyTeam are not really too interesting strategy-wise. Their car just doesn't have enough upgrades to make any other tire a viable option. Luckily, the rest of the field is kind of in the same boat. Most other people go medium to hard. So, I mean, if they really change it around, they go hard to medium. So, not very often do people use the soft tire. Obviously, we are not going to either. I'm playing around with it, though. So, you can do softs to hards, actually, and it's pretty much the same overall time to complete the race. But I just think the softs are going to wear way too quickly. There's a lot of high-speed corners here. I'm not really too good with saving tires around here, so I think using softs would probably not be a good choice. I think they'd overheat and drop off by like lap 5. So yeah, formation lap, just warming up the tires, obviously getting the brakes up to temperature, everything like that, as Mark instructs me to do so, getting the car up to temperature and going through the gears and whatever. Yeah, so as for this race, P13 on the grid, so I'm hoping we can get points again. This is kind of a similar situation to Bahrain. We started around P13. I think we were P14 in Bahrain. And we were able to get some points even after a slow pit stop. So obviously in Jeddah, we got spun by Magnussen on lap 3. So that kind of ruined our chances. We finished P11. Probably could have got points if we didn't get spun and have to do a front wing change. So yeah, coming up to the grid right now, but I'm hoping for points. P13 is definitely it's definitely attainable if we get a good start, get a couple cars off the line, and into turn 1. So yeah, we're gonna have to see, but yeah, points definitely on the table if I play my cards right. Hopefully Piastri can get at least P15. He's at the back of the grid, obviously. So yeah, lights are coming on. Round 3 of Season 1 for Lotus F1 Team. Let's go. We are racing in Australia at Albert Park. So here we go. Pretty terrible start, actually. I'm getting like swallowed alive by AI behind. So this passed by 3 cars off the start. And we go right through the middle of everyone, make some contact with Mick Schumacher, actually. Not really good. Hopefully there's no front wing damage. I really got swallowed off the line by all the AI behind. I had way too much wheel spin. I couldn't really control it. I had way too much throttle input as well. So that was definitely a mistake. I think I had too many revs on the rev limiter before the lights went out. So I think that's where my my start kind of went awry. As for the race, my tires are still feeling pretty cold. Mediums take a little while to get up to temperature. I'm understeering a little bit. I'm not really getting good traction, so yeah, you can see there 179. Operating windows like closer to 200. 200 might be a little hot, actually. I'm not really too sure. I don't really remember, but yeah, closer to 200 is definitely operating windows. So they're still a little cold. Getting there, obviously, you can see they're already warming up a little bit just from that high-speed, kind of twisty section of Sector 1, I believe, at the end of Sector 1. So yeah, catching up with the pack a little bit more. P12 is not really bad. So after that horrible start, we actually made up 1 place when we made that kind of very late lunge into turn 1. Made contact with Schumacher there. So I checked, and I don't have any front wing damage, which is good. So that's obviously a plus. The pack is kind of pulling away. I'm kind of pulling away from guys behind. So hopefully we can catch up to the guys in front and leave those guys behind as well. Yeah, so somewhat of a decent start. Obviously made up 1 place, like I said, but definitely some work to do. Bottas and that Alfa is going to be pretty quick, and the Haas is somewhat of an opponent to us, as we saw in Jeddah. So if you look in the top left, actually, you can see that Guan Yu Zhou is on softs. So he's probably doing soft, medium, soft strategy, which is actually quite interesting. I don't think anyone else in the field has softs on. So kind of a guinea pig, I guess. So we're kind of in an Alfa Romeo sandwich right now between Bottas and Guan Yu Zhou. So hopefully he can't overtake us. I mean, if he does, it's not the end of the world because he's on a 2-stop. Those softs are going to be really quick, especially at the start of the race, but they're going to drop off. So if we can hold him back up to about lap 5 or 6, then he should be not really a threat anymore. I assume he'll be boxing around lap 6 or 7. So if we can hold him back until then, his tires will drop off and we'll have definitely better tire wear, and we can try to keep making progress on the guys in front and not really have to worry too much about him. So yeah, turning into lap 3 now. Verstappen has fastest lap, so he's leading. I'm going to try to keep checking in on the guys in front in future races. I think it's pretty interesting, especially if kind of I'm in a situation like this, not really too much hard racing going on. So you guys might as well see what's happening at the top of the championship. Guan Yu Zhou looks like he's shaping up for a move on us, actually. He's got DRS open, and he's going around the outside, which is probably not going to work there. I had that door closed long before he got there, so not really a gap for him to shoot for there. But yeah, keeping him behind for now. Definitely losing touch to Bottas, so it looks like 100 AI might be a little bit difficult, but we're also in not a fast car. I'm still really trying to figure out where this car stands. Technically third on the performance index, but in Jeddah the car felt fantastic. The difficulty was, I believe, 99. This is 100, so it's not really too much of a difference there. And in Jeddah we were definitely keeping up with guys in front, especially the Haas cars of Kevin Magnussen mostly. Schumacher had a bad race, but yeah, so I figured we'd be fighting the Haas cars today, but not really happening. You can see Guan Yu Zhou goes for a move up the inside there. Definitely a bold overtaking zone right there. Not really too many cars try to go for a move up the inside on that corner. That's far too high speed and definitely very risky. If he was a little bit closer, he would have tapped our rear right and probably spun himself out, or spun me out. So definitely high risk and little reward overtaking zone right there. Not really too sure why he went for that move. But he's feisty on the softs. He's really pushing. So we've caught up to the pack in front a little bit, which is really good. At least we can try to stay within DRS range of these guys. If not, we'll probably fall to Guan Yu Zhou behind on those soft tires. So close to DRS, I definitely want to stick with Bottas if I can. 1.1 seconds behind, 9/10 back to a second. So we don't have DRS this time around. And that's inviting Guan Yu Zhou up the inside. We have nothing to fight this with, and we squeeze him out to the inside on that kind of tough curbing. It's a very sharp angle. You can see here, we just squeeze him out onto that sausage curb, and he kind of bumps around and is not really able to get the power down. So luckily we could squeeze him out and fight that move. DRS, or not having DRS rather, was pretty detrimental there. He wouldn't have been able to go for that move if we did have DRS. So now we're back in it. We can see behind Ricciardo, so he got passed by Bottas, and we have a moment on the curb just like an FP1, and that's the mistake Guan Yu Zhou needed. He's passed us very cleanly. Let's see if we can go for a move up the inside here. I decide against it. It's not really worth it. We were far too close to the inside, and we make some contact there with Guan Yu Zhou's gearbox, so hopefully no front wing damage again. Yeah, that was tough. He braked a lot earlier than I thought. He was more towards the inside of that corner, so he was about in the middle of the track. That's why I didn't want to go for a dive bomb there. I would have been way on the inside, and my line would have been really, really bad, and I probably would have forced him out onto the curbing, or myself onto the curbing as well, and also risking contact. So obviously we did make contact. He braked a little bit earlier than I thought he would, but that's just because of the line he had to take. And Ricciardo locks up, so the race is really starting to open up now, and I'm getting pressured from Gasly behind, so hopefully we can capitalize on this mistake from Ricciardo, who's obviously racing in his home race, just like Piastri. Speaking of who seems to be absolutely nowhere in this race. If you look on the mini-map, he's not doing too well. So he's yeah, having a tough one for his home race. But so is Ricciardo. He's going very slowly through this end of Sector 2 of these S's. I'm very low on ERS. I don't know how I'm catching up to him. I'm slipstreaming him. He might have some type of issue with his car. And we're going to go for a move here. We're going to stick it up the inside. Not really the best place to overtake, but we get the move done. And we stay away from the curb as well, so kind of no harm, no foul there with the curb. Luckily, we didn't spin out like we did in the FP1. But here's a replay of the move. Definitely high risk, high reward there. So Ricciardo actually does have an issue with his car. I forgot to mention that earlier. He has some type of problem with his engine. I believe it got fixed right before that, though. So he must have just gotten a bad exit, or was battling a little bit with Guan Yu Zhou ahead. So luckily we could capitalize on that. Now we can see Guan Yu Zhou's into the pits, so he's pitting on lap 6, going into lap 7. So not too much harm done with those soft tires. He wasn't really able to attack us too much and make too much of a gap. So luckily for us, the mediums held on pretty well. The softs were just not good enough to hold on. So Gasly is now pressuring us for a move around the outside, right where we overtook Ricciardo, and it's pretty much the same move. We're up the inside again, and again we have a very nice line through there and stay off the curbing. So definitely getting pressured from behind. Obviously the gap in front is very big now. All this battling with Guan Yu Zhou, Ricciardo, and Gasly again. who goes for a move around the outside of turn 1. All this battling is really hurting me. I don't really have that much pace. I'm trying to focus on having my own race, saving ERS, saving tires, and trying to get some good lines through here, good traction, get the power down, good exits and everything. And you know, an AI comes up and tries to go up the inside for a stupid move, or tries to push you around the outside, and you have to cope with it. So it's really hurting the pace. That's why the gap is opening up so much. You can see now it's 11 seconds to Bottas in front. So behind, Gasly got overtaken by Mick Schumacher, who's on mediums, and he's going for a move around the outside as well. Hopefully we can, yes we do. So we keep the inside line, squeeze him out a little bit. That's pretty effective. It's pretty easy to defend against AI in this game. If you just stick to your line and spam ERS a little bit, they can't really get around. So we've actually done a pretty decent job in saving ERS. Obviously these guys have caught up behind a little bit, but we've been able to save ERS. Now we're burning it a little bit. We're going to be pitting soon, so we might as well kind of dump some of the ERS before we go into the pits. Obviously you save a good portion of the battery percentage when you're in the pit lane, so we can afford to dump some of it right now. So I believe we're pitting next lap. We'll see when we cross the finish line here, but I believe it's a lap 13 strategy. Yeah, so pit window's open for the hard tire. Not really too sure how the hards are going to be around here. It's a lot of high-speed corners, so I think the car is good enough to handle those. I think it's pretty suited to high speed, and we can see Mick try for a move around the outside again. So I'm getting attacked by AI on this race, and it's making me lose pace. I don't have the pace to keep up with Bottas and Norris in front, and they've really opened up in front of me. Almost 13 seconds out of Bottas, so unless there's a safety car or Bottas has a big mistake, it's looking like P11 is maximum for today. Obviously that's going to depend on Guan Yu Zhou's strategy. So he's going to be going softs and mediums, and then mediums to soft. So when we are switching on to hards, he's going to be on 2 faster compounds, so he's definitely going to make some ground on us. Hopefully we can build enough of a gap where he is way too far behind to do anything, and he gets kind of caught up battling other people trying to make his way back to the field. So yeah, pitting this lap, we'll see how the hards are going to do. Hopefully we can hope for a safety car or something like that that can bring us a little bit closer to the pack, because as of right now, it doesn't really look like we're going to get there just on raw pace if these AI keep attacking us from behind. So you can see Bottas and Magnussen are both in the pits, entering the pit lane right now. I have to slow down the car in time, and we do. So avoiding the 5-second speeding penalty there, and everyone is in the pits. And you can see Guan Yu Zhou has passed us on track, obviously on that different strategy. And it looks like we've slow stopped.
The right rear wheel. I know it's not ideal, but let's try and put that behind us now and get back into this race. Okay.
And we get jumped by Ricardo in the pit lane, so that slow stop lost us a position. It created a bigger gap to Guan Yu Zhou ahead, who it seems like we're probably realistically racing him this race. Even though he's on that split strategy, we seem to have somewhat similar pace. So that's 2 out of 3 races now where we've had a slow pit stop. Obviously these races are one-stop races, so 2 out of 3 pit stops this year have been slow stops. So I'm definitely going to look into upgrading the pit crew, again in that kind of perk section of the menu. That is really brutal. We're holding up a lot of cars behind, Stroll and Alonso. Obviously Stroll is not really too much of a concern, and Aston Martin, they're below us in the performance index, they're a very slow car. But Alonso and the Alpine, that's where we have an issue. The Alpine is much quicker than us. Alonso, I'm sure, is his AI is better than me. Is pretty highly rated, I'm sure. So definitely gonna have an issue keeping that Alpine behind, especially given how long it's taking to warm up these hard tires. They're finally in somewhat of an operating window and finally not getting understeer. But look at the gaps of Ricardo. It's 2 seconds, and I was right behind him exiting the pits. So the AI are very, very good at warming up the tires after the pit stop, and it feels a little unfair to the player, to be honest. These guys are right on my gearbox as well. Here you can see Piastri coming into the pits. Obviously he's doing mediums to hards as well. Like I said, we can't do softs or any other type of strategy. The car just doesn't have the upgrades for it. But he's going to come out, it looks like, right behind Yuki Tsunoda. And Tsunoda is 2 places behind me, so Piastri has managed to get his race back together a little bit. I'm in P13, so him being in P16 is not too bad. Usually he's a little bit further back, so we'll see if that's a strategy thing from the rest of the field or if he's just bringing it back. And we can see Alonso going up the inside. It's a drag race through this high-speed S section of Sector 2, and we stick it around the outside, really cut the curbing there too, to avoid going wide onto that curb. That line definitely would have compromised my exit, and I would have had to hit that exit curb, so I had to do something, and I had to take that, what should have been a warning. Again, not really too sure why these are not warnings. That was definitely track limits, but I had to take that, otherwise I would have been on the exit curb, or Alonso would have gone past me very, very quickly. So really had to take to the curbs there. But back onto the main straight to start lap 20. Alonso is right behind us. He's got DRS. He's going to be closing in very quickly, and here he is. He's coming in hot for behind us. He's going to go around the outside here. We're going to squeeze him wide and try to match him on the brakes. We have the inside line, and we can make that move work. So we can defend from Alonso for now, but we'll see how long we can keep up this act of defending from El Plan here. Obviously, he's in a much quicker car. His tires are probably going to be better, especially by the end of the race. The AI are better at saving tires as well. So, yeah, that's going to be tough. But we could squeeze him out wide there. Like I said, we matched him on the braking. We had the inside line, so matching him on braking at least gave us that inside line. It turned to the inside for him, but it looks like we squeezed him out a little too wide, where his line was a little bit compromised. So. Somewhat of a decent defense from us, and he's going around the outside again. So Alonso's looking really feisty, and we go wide onto the curbs here. Let's see if we can get traction here, and we can. So luckily, again, we're just barely escaping these attacks from Alonso, these dive bombs moving around the outside. Yeah, it's getting rough, and you can see we have a train building up behind us from all this fighting and battling with Alonso. Luckily, Guan Yu Zhou's behind us still. He's on mediums, and Alonso's going around the outside again. So we're always giving him the outside. It doesn't ever really seem to work for him. And it looks like he gets a really compromised exit there. And Guan Yu Zhou is here to pick up the pieces, and he goes up the inside of Alonso, which turns to the outside for the next corner, and Alonso's fighting back. So these two are battling it away. Guan Yu Zhou is on better tires, and he finally makes that move stick. So yeah, now we have Guan Yu Zhou to worry about behind us on those mediums. Like I said, there's going to be a lot quicker. Here's Piastri. He's fighting Williams and an Aston Martin. I'm not too sure what position he's in. And we can see here. So he's P20, so he's dropped back from P16 earlier. So he's been overtaken by 2 cars on track. That wasn't a strategy or a pit stop problem. That looks like raw pace. So luckily we did that pace upgrade for him. Unfortunately, it doesn't really look like it's doing anything. So we'll have to look into that in the future and see if we can get anything done on that front. So lap 24 now of 29, 5 laps remaining, about to be lap 25. P13 still is not that bad. Obviously the gap to Schumacher and Bottas looks pretty unattainable at this stage. This battling is really, really killing my pace. So Guan Yu Zhou is still behind me on those faster tires. He's 8 tenths behind. Luckily that seems like enough of a gap for now. Don't really have to burn too much ERS or anything to stay in front of him, but he's definitely going to be catching up soon, especially having DRS and those medium tires. We're a little bit slow into turn 1. You can see we lose about a tenth there. I think I'm just braking too early. I started fixing it about halfway around. Oh, and that's Ricciardo out of his home race. It looks like it is. It's an engine failure. So Daniel Ricciardo is out of his home race in Australia. That is brutal. That's a brutal way to start the season for him. I'm not really too sure where he's been this season. I'm not sure how his pace is and the results he's been getting. But that is a really tough DNF to have at your home race. So hopefully that doesn't happen to Oscar. But Guan Yu Zhou is going up the inside. So we are just totally getting attacked everywhere on this track. We give him a lot of room on the outside. Brake later, and luckily we can get that move done. That's a pretty effective way to defend. You squeeze into the inside, compromise their line. They have to brake earlier, and then you stick it way around the outside, and you take the racing line. So if we can keep defending like that to Guan Yu Zhou behind on those mediums, there's a chance we can keep P12 in this race. Lap 26 of 29, only 3 laps to go. We're having a huge moment on the exit curb, and it's a spin. We spin on lap 26, and we get passed by everybody. We go from P12 to P17 now, and P18 as Stroll passes us. So huge moment right there, and completely lost control. I took way too much exit curb, and I was on the dirt and lost all traction. We can see Piastri passes us as well. So we are down in the mud. We're in P19 of 20 cars running. So second to last place. I believe only Latifi's behind me. You can see I took way too much exit curb there. I was on the apex for the corner before, so my entry wasn't too bad, and luckily I was avoiding an incident there. I didn't get hit by any of the cars and taken out of the race, and taken them out of the race as well. Yeah, you could just see I completely lost control there. There was just no grip on that exit curve, and I went way too wide, and we go up the inside of Piastri to make it P18. So we're coming back right away, almost up the inside of Stroll. And as you can see here, we're already pulling away from Piastri, so that was a very, very clean move. Hopefully we can go up the inside of Stroll here, and we can. So that's a little bit of damage limitation there. P17, obviously he's lost 5 places. We gained 2 back, but we're still 5 places down from P12. So really, really a big moment there. I can't believe I did that on lap 26 of 29. Like I said, the apex and the entry was fine to that corner. I just kept the throttle down way too long. I should have lifted a little bit. I overestimated the tires. They're starting to drop off a little bit. I'm losing grip, and I just overestimated how much grip I had and went way too wide. So luckily I started lifting there to avoid that mistake. But we're starting to catch up with these guys again. I'm not really too sure why. I think they could be battling. I don't know if it's our pace. I mean, we're dumping ERS. Luckily we had no damage from that incident. But unfortunately we're getting blue flagged. So if we get lapped here, it's race over, pretty much. Yeah, not really great. The race was going pretty well until that incident, obviously, so not really much I can do there, but it also doesn't really look like there's much I can do here, as Verstappen is lapping me on lap 28 of 29. So this is our final lap. I'm not going to be able to catch up to these guys in front, unfortunately. If we had more laps in the race, I think I probably could have maybe salvaged P15. These guys are all kind of in a train ahead, so I could have salvaged something out of it, but not really too detrimental. I mean, yeah, it was a big mistake. We lost some places, but we weren't really on track for points anyway, so in the long run, it doesn't affect our drivers or Constructors' Championship points. We're still stuck at 1 point from that opening round in Bahrain, but yeah, really tough mistake there on lap 26. That totally ruined our race. So, yeah, blue flags, lap by Verstappen, and our race is over. So, not the best showing today. At least we beat our teammate again, 16th. So, luckily we had Ricardo and Vettel retire. Otherwise, we would have been probably P18 around there. So you can see the race results here. Verstappen is the winner with Charles Leclerc in 3rd. Lotus F1 Team, not a good weekend. P16 and P19. We can look at the standings here. Verstappen is leading the Drivers' Championship by 11 points. It's a very close battle at the front, and Sergio Perez is 3rd in the standings. So only a 17-point gap for Constructors between the top teams too. So that's a pretty interesting championship battle. Unfortunately, not a good race for us. So that moment on lap 26, obviously, the slow pit stop definitely hurt our race as well. We could have been in front of Ricardo. And we can see here 2 of my upgrades that were for Imola have failed. Luckily, we can put those on in time for Imola. That doesn't really hurt us too much. We lose a little bit of resource points getting those back on the car. But yeah, as I was saying, that slow stop really killed us. I think if we were in front of Ricardo, we would have had pressure, definitely, from him. But we had 3 cars behind. We had, I believe, Gasly, Alonso, and Guan Yu Zhou on softs. So we had a lot of pressure behind us. I think that's what forced us to make that mistake. I was really trying to push and make a gap to those guys and just try to keep defending. We were getting really, really attacked into pretty much every turn by the AI. So luckily we were able to defend, but unfortunately that pressure eventually got to me and I had that big mistake. So not a good turnout from Lotus F1 Team this time around. Obviously next race will be in Imola. I'm excited for that. That's a good track for me. I think it'll suit the car pretty well. It has a good mix of kind of medium and high speed corners. So obviously 2 upgrades coming on for Imola. So keep an eye out for that. That should boost us up the field a little bit. So yeah, we'll see where that puts us for the race and for qualifying in Emilia Romagna. So if you made it this far, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.